Welcome back to my channel. Now I think we've got a real problem ahead of us. Now it's not something new, it's something that's been building up for the last few years. It's just now that I'm thinking more and more about it. There's lots of problems with the construction industry at the moment. Not enough houses being built, there's not enough people coming into the craft, and it's just a particularly difficult industry to get into. So I'm literally just about to convert a roof space. And I'm up there and I'm looking at the existing roof, and although the roof tile material, this clay, is absolutely perfect, and I reckon it can be used again for another 80 or so years since they've been put on this roof, a lot of other problems around the fabric of the roof have arisen. Now, whenever I get on the train and I travel from where I live in the country through the suburbs and into London, I pass thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of houses with old roofs which are going to need doing pretty soon. In fact, they probably need doing already. And even in this suburban street here, quite a few have been done over the years, but it's not the sort of thing that people prioritize. Even surveyors, when you buy a house, you know, they'll just look at it from the outside and they'll make an advisory, the roof may need recovering in a few years. That few years has already passed for quite a lot of roofs. Now this one here, I'm going to give you an opportunity to look at exactly what I'm talking about, the fatigue, what goes wrong, and exactly what we'll have to do in the future. So I'm taking this roof off in its entirety. I'm taking all the tiles off, all the old battening, which is feather edge board on this one, all the rafters, because we're going to convert this into a living space. Something that's been happening a lot in the last sort of 30 or 40 years. In fact, I've been in this trade since 1986, and I started with a loft conversion company. So I've seen every type of roof, I've worked on every type of roof, and back in the day I would be doing a loft conversion in the street, but there'd be other people having their roofs covered. There'd be lots of family firms of roofers. Nearly every town or village had a roofer, but that's not the case anymore. Lots of these tradespeople who I started out with have retired. They've got children who didn't want to come into the building trade. They saw how hard it was, a struggle for their parents to make ends meet and suffer the conditions of actually being a roofer. It's really tough on the body, working in all weathers, and it's dangerous, of course. So anyway, so this is part of the problem. There are far fewer roofers. It's a problem, but it also creates an opportunity. For example, if you really did want to go into this business in the right way and market yourselves correctly and offer a fantastic service, you'd literally build a very good business. But it's not easy, because trying to find staff, workers, hardly any training courses, believe it or not, for roof slaters and tilers. There's probably only a handful of colleges which really offer a comprehensive course. Anyway, let me show you exactly what goes wrong with an old roof. So this is a very typical semi-detached house, sort of from, I don't know, it could be from the 30s or even after the Second World War, but there were millions and millions of houses built during that period, okay? And in fact, they were built en masse by lots more tradespeople than there are now. And admittedly, building regulations have changed over the years, which makes building a little bit more time consuming, of course more expensive, and it was a lot more simple back in the day, okay? Most of the houses had the same specification. There was no insulation put in the roofs, for example, and even mortar. There wasn't a lot of cement. It was all done with sand and lime, but it worked, okay? And the reason it worked is because they sort of evolved this over many centuries to get to where they got. So these tiles are what we call machine-made clay tile, and they're in absolutely perfect order. So they have not delaminated at all. The water's not got into them. I'll show you a few here that I've stripped off. I've been stripping off so I can set out for this loft conversion. So here we go. These are the tiles. They're absolutely perfect. We can reuse them, and they're as good as a new machine-made clay tile, okay? There's a few there which have got no nibs, which are the hooks that they hook them onto the batten, or in this case, feather edge. Now, let's take a little look at the eave, okay? Now the eave is the bottom of the roof. And if I hold the camera here, you can see that a lot of these tiles have slipped. It's even worse on the adjacent property here. They've all slipped and they're all falling into the gutter. Now every time they slip, for example, these ones here, water can get in. that water is obviously going to cause problems. It's not going to show in the house because the house eave hangs over the wall. What it is doing though, if you look at the foot of that rafter, that's getting wet, that's getting rot, and that's the problem, okay? So here, let's take a look at this property, and this is the reason why the eaves slip. To maintain or to manage to get the eaves, this is an open eave. The bottom 4 boards here are actually tongue and groove, and that's a decorative board, so when you see it from the underneath and it's all painted, it's a finish. Then the wall, which is this bit here, comes up, it's rendered, and it meets that board, so it's an open eave. But what they do there is then they fix every tile by cutting off the nibs off the back of the tile. So if I hold this tile here, you can see that the nibs have been snapped off, and then they're using nails. Now the trouble is, the nails that they used years ago weren't corrosion proof, they weren't galvanized. And if you look at a tile here, if I just brush away the debris, you can see that it just literally fell off. This one is the last course, or the first course, where they used a nib which hung over the top of here. But the subsequent ones below, you can just see here, they're literally held on by rusty nails, which is a shame. And that's why they all tend to slip. So all of this is happening over the years. The timber, that this close boarding, there's no woodworm in this particular boarding here. The rafters are in really good order as well. And it's a shame because all of this stuff will come off, and it's really hard to recycle because it's full of nails, it's filthy dirty, and actually to try and recycle this, it will be very time consuming, and it's an odd shape because it's tapered, of course, so that's how it works. The tiles hook on the fattest part, and that's always at the top, of course. So that is where we're at. So also, if you look at the hip tiles, which otherwise known as ridge tiles are level, hip tiles are obviously on the angle. You can see here that the mortar has literally come out, and that looks like it's been repointed. That's a modern bit of mortar. It's a very windy day here. It's always unnerving when I'm up on a temporary roof. But if I just show you how easy it is to move these, okay, if I just get a hand to them, I'm holding the camera as well. There you go, look, they're literally hanging on by the mass, by the weight. That's what you've got underneath. You've got your mortar where it's bedded. They use sections of tile to build the muck up so it's not so thick, and that's pretty normal. And that's kept the water out because it's got such a huge cover. But you can see here on the back of the roof, all the eave has slipped as well. There you go. And now this is the same for thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of roofs in every town, in every village in the country. And we need to get more people to take this kind of work on. But it's going to be difficult, and I really don't know what the solution is. I want to hear from you in the comments your experiences of A, buying a building which the surveyor said there was nothing wrong with the roof and the roof was really bad. B, how hard has it been for you to try and get roof repairs done, find a roofer, or indeed, you know, have you had to spend a lot of money? Now, I can just talk about a roof which I've just been out to look at, which is something I may have to work on in the coming months, and it's a roof which dates back from parts of it from 1400. So it's really beautiful old oak roof. And this roof has been recovered in its life probably 3 times with handmade clay tiles, and it's got to the point now where some of the oak has just given up. It's just beyond its natural lifespan. Now this is a listed building I'm talking about, and for us, before we can even start work, we need to do like a complete archaeological survey almost of the entire roof. We have to then be really prescriptive about how we're going to repair it, what materials we're going to use, and we've got to leave everything there that's all over the place. So it's going to be really time consuming. It's probably going to be the most expensive roof covering job that I've been involved with, or roof repair job that I've ever been involved with in my career. And it's just the size of a couple of cottages, if you like. Admittedly, they're quite a decent size. So there you go. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear your experiences. I also want to hear what you think about the state of the building trade. It is unnerving up here when the wind gets up. And leave it in the comments. And thanks for watching.